Assalamualaikum dan selamat petang semua. Kembali kita dalam Real Conversations with Anita, sebuah podcast kesihatan mental yang dibawakan kepada anda oleh MIASA Malaysia. Saya Puan Anita, Presiden MIASA Malaysia dan juga hos anda. Dengan rasa rendah diri dan bersyukur, pertama sekali ingin mengambil kesempatan ini untuk mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada anda semua yang telah menyokong MIASA Malaysia dan juga podcast Real Conversations with Anita daripada episod yang pertama sehingga hari ini. Dan insya-Allah seperti biasa minggu ini kita akan membuka perbincangan tentang kisah inspirasi dan juga perjuangan dan juga mengupas topik-topik yang masih lagi dianggap tabu dalam masyarakat kita tentang kesihatan mental dan juga penyakit mental, dan juga kita ingin memberikan penghargaan kepada pihak-pihak NGO yang bertukus lumus di komuniti, pakar-pakar, suka-suka relawan dan juga semua yang berusaha keras untuk membasmi stigma dan juga diskriminasi. Dan kami ingin memberikan penghormatan kepada individu-individu yang banyak berjuang dalam ruang impak ini, para pejuang sendiri dan juga OKU dan ahli keluarga, dengan harapan dapat memberikan jalan keluar kepada mereka yang bergelut dengan ujian masing-masing insya-Allah. Dan juga kita ingin mendengar, pelajari daripada pengalaman mereka dan juga mendapat pengajaran daripada kisah-kisah ini, dengan harapan bahawa suara-suara ini menjadi voices of hope insya-Allah. Dan hari ini seperti biasa kita membawa seorang wanita, isteri dan juga ibu yang saya pasti akan menginspirasikan anda semua melalui perjalanan jatuh bangunnya beliau dan bagaimana beliau mampu berjaya hari ini, alhamdulillah, dan bangkit lebih kuat. Jadi tetamu kita hari ini saya perkenalkan Puan Maisarah Sani, iaitu founder ataupun pengasas kepada BeCalm Malaysia. Seorang wanita yang bukan sahaja cemerlang dalam kerjaya tetapi juga berani, alhamdulillah, berkongsi insyaAllah hari ini kisah peribadi beliau tentang perjalanan dengan isu kesihatan mental, kehidupan dan bagaimana beliau menemui keseimbangan insyaAllah antara kejayaan dan juga kebahagiaan. Jadi welcome, selamat datang Puan Mai. Apa khabar?
Khabar baik. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you for having us.
So Puan Mai, hari ini macam mana kita? Apa mungkin sedikit perkembangan terbaru
tentang kesihatan mental
kesihatan mental, mungkin tentang BeCalm sendiri macam baru-baru ni dah pun melancarkan ashwagandha cookies. Masya-Allah, alhamdulillah, tahniah. Mungkin kita di penghujung nanti kita nak berkongsi sikit tentang apa cookie ashwagandha cookies ni. Tapi mungkin sebagai pembukaan, apa perkembangan terbaru dululah.
Actually, nak kata perkembangan terbaru, setiap hari saya ni memperbaharui perkembangan saya.
Betul.
Every day we are doing something new.
Yes.
Tapi what's new for me is kita punya launch lah of the new product, which is cookie untuk stress and anxiety. Saya memang pengusaha pengilang. Dah 23 tahun kilang ni beroperasi. So tapi bukanlah produk-produk mental health. It's just normal cakes and confectionery. Last year actually kita launched our first mental health product. Tapi masa tu prototype. So I wasn't sure. Saya pun bukan seorang yang berpengalaman. Cuma saya ada pengalaman mental health issue dalam diri saya sendiri. So saya pun baru nak buat functional food. So we launched last year. Tahun ni betul-betul kita launch sebab kita dah yakin yang produk kita ni memang berkesan.
Masya-Allah.
So that's the latest one. I'm very busy doing ground activation and also product awareness, and
I'm sure
making people aware about solution yang ada untuk menangani stres ni.
Alternatives lah. We need more alternatives for people to recover kan. Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih banyak-banyak Puan Mai. Okay Puan Mai, mungkin sebelum kita kupas dengan lebih lanjut tentang BeCalm punya products mungkin. By the way, ini bukan ditaja oleh BeCalm, but because this is something that can potentially help us, people who are struggling with mental health issues. So kita kalau boleh dekat MIASA ni kan Puan Mai, apa sahaja yang boleh membantu orang kata pejuang-pejuang di luar sana, kita cuba nak ketengahkan insya-Allah. So itu tujuan kami juga. Tetapi on top of all of that, sebenarnya kami nak mendengarlah kisah Puan Mai sendiri, seorang pejuang, cabaran-cabaran yang kita hadapi, realitinya tu bagaimana kan sebenarnya Puan Mai. Tapi sebelum tu mungkin kita nak, kalau boleh Puan Mai ceritakan sedikit tentang, sebab kita nak bawa balik kepada mungkin zaman kanak-kanak dulu kan Puan Mai, where we feel free, mungkin tak ada masalah, mungkin kita rasa everything is possible in this world dan sebagainya. free and easy mungkin ya, dan fearless. Okay, mungkin Puan Mai nak berkongsi apa maybe some of your memorable moments during your childhood, ataupun mungkin ada cabaran-cabaran sebenarnya yang kita lalui, sebab kadang-kadang zaman kanak-kanak ni pasti ada juga cabaran-cabaran yang mungkin membentuk who you are today, who has shaped you or built you to who you are today, Puan Mai.
I have been doing mental health podcast for the last 1 year, and selalu bila when it comes to mental health issues, people go back to their childhood.
Yes.
Okay. But I think my childhood was normal. This is something abnormal about me. I had a normal childhood.
Okay.
But I had mental health issues.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say that I had a trauma when I was a child. I wouldn't say that I had abuse or anything as I was a child. But I was raised dalam environment of high profile people. So
Okay, faham.
high expectations, high standards.
You feel pressured?
I never really felt pressure because I think somehow adik-beradik I semua macam gifted sikit lah. Semua budak-budak pandai. Even my parents never even checked our report cards. But I know in my heart, deep down, my father had very high standards. So we are not expected to do our utmost best, but we know deep down that the standard is high. So I set a very high standard for myself, only because my dad was a high performer. So we always want to keep up to him. So I think that's all. If there was any pressure ataupun stress dalam hidup saya, itu saja. Dan saya rasa saya dibesarkan dalam keluarga yang semuanya semua orang baik-baik, yang sangat-sangat baik. Jadi kita nak buat sesuatu kesalahan ni tak boleh tau.
Faham ni? Faham.
Sebab nak jaga nama keluarga, nak jaga nama kita, nak jaga status keluarga kan. Jadi kita tak boleh, we have no room to feel that freedom. Somehow the freedom was given. I tak kata my parents ni mengongkong ke apa, tak. The freedom was given, but the trust that they hold onto you and trust onto you, that was something yang I pegang. I set standards for myself, I set expectation for myself, sampai I rasa mungkin benda tu yang
contribute lah kepada mental health
sebab
issues.
At some point in life, Allah akan test you.
Betul.
Whether you can achieve the standards or not, ataupun sesuatu akan terjadi dalam hidup you yang menjadikan standard itu sangat rendah untuk you.
Faham?
Bukan standard itu rendah, kita dah jadi jatuh pada standards tu. And we come to a state of self-disappointment. I was disappointed with myself with some of the decisions I made during years of studies. So that brought me to the mental health situation, because I somehow feel that I disappointed a lot of people.
Adakah perkara-perkara ini dizahirkan kepada Puan Mai, ataupun Puan Mai berprasangka begitu? You know what I mean?
Faham. I think disebabkan saya banyak bersendiri.
Okay.
And I was alone with my problems, and I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to disappoint anybody.
Okay.
So then it caused a lot of issues for me. Sebab I was not true to myself. I was not true to the people around me. I was not honest with my life because I felt like I disappointed myself. The surrounding was expecting a high performance punya person, ataupun orang yang takkan buat salah, orang yang tak pernah buat salah, tak boleh buat salah. Tiba-tiba kita ada buat satu kesalahan besar yang saya terpaksa be alone on it. I have to be alone. Yeah.
So are you close with your siblings?
Very
close.
Yeah. We were raised in a household where our parents were very busy. So I'm the eldest of eldest daughter of 4. I have an elder brother. So my brother, or being a boy, kan, he's always out of the house lah. So basically I am the eldest in the house. And I do take care of my younger sisters a lot. So we also had a sick grandmother at home. She was schizophrenic. So I was the one caring for her.
I see. Okay, so not only are you pejuang, tetapi juga penjaga pada waktu tu.
Ya, kita kanak-kanak lagi masa tu tak faham. So kita tahu tok tak sihat tu je. So we live in that environment of high levels of compassion.
Alhamdulillah.
So we have to understand, macam bila kita duduk dengan orang yang ada mental health state ni, kita tak boleh treat them like they are weird, because they are not. They are just not well.
Betul.
They are just not well. And so having that high tolerance or high compassion also helps me shape myself for today. Sebab I've seen worse.
Yes. Thank you, Puan Mai, for sharing. So maknanya apa yang Puan Mai kongsikan ni tadi, it is not necessarily your parents pressuring you ataupun the environment, tapi it was more of you, because you knew that their standards was high and you wanted to fulfill those standards. Tapi in the end, you kind of suffered in that sense lah.
Yeah, suffered big time because the mistake that I made was unforgivable. I couldn't even forgive myself. Yeah, I think being alone with my problem at that time, masa tu I was living abroad. Saya study and bekerja dekat England for 6 years.
Right.
In London. So that period of when I was by myself, if I go back to my childhood, I was always the one taking care of everybody at home.
Betul.
And then suddenly I'm free. I'm in London, I'm taking care of myself. And I have no idea how to do that. And I felt that sense of freedom where I felt like if anybody was trying to take care of me, I'll take it.
I see.
I'll take it.
Because you didn't know better, right?
I didn't know better. I'm not used to the
Not
feeling of
used to
orang
it.
jaga I.
Betul.
I'm not used to that. And that can be dangerous sometimes because you lose sort of judgment. Whether is this the right kind of care?
Betul.
Is this what you need? And things like that. Because you're always caring for people. And
Right.
you're not used to people caring for you. So that happened. And I think that was my biggest downfall. I trusted too many people who were not good for me. So that one caused me my first state of depression.
So during the time you were alone, so nobody followed you lah basically. Nobody accompanied you in that sense.
Yeah, no, it was just friends in the UK.
Friends in
and
the
then
UK.
by the time you graduate, all your friends balik Malaysia
Betul,
kan.
betul.
Lepas tu I continued to stay, to work there. So I was completely by myself.
I see.
but
And masa tu
I
pun
was
tak
there.
ramai Malaysians kan? Kan banyak lagi masa
Ramai,
tu.
tapi sebab I kerja, so I tak ada time sangat nak socialize with other Malaysians or get help, or I didn't have time to, when you talk about your problems with people with different cultures, it doesn't really help.
Betul.
So you really need to talk to another Malaysian.
Betul. It's
And
very
then
different.
It's very different.
Betul.
I had a lot of British friends. I had friends from all over the world. I had friends from Taiwan. My closest friends were from Hong Kong. But I can never tell them I punya masalah. Kalau kita nak cakap pasal iman, kalau kita nak cakap pasal agama, kan? So tak sampai.
Thank you so much, Puan Mai. So, Puan Mai, during these times of struggles lah kita panggil, how did you eventually cope with what happened?
Actually, it took 8 years.
8 years.
All together. And I don't know if I have coped or not because I rasa right now, I'm busy. I have purpose. Masa I was studying, I was working, it was all about me. I was taking care of myself and only me. My parents were self-sufficient, they didn't need me. So, I was only serving me.
Betul, faham.
So, I rasa macam I tak ada...
Macam tak ada hala tuju sangat lah.
Tak ada sangat. And then dah lah buat kesilapan besar. Lepas tu kesilapan tu tak boleh nak repair. So, you feel like so totally lost masa tu. How I cope kan, macam masa tu memang tak boleh lah. I was so down sampai to the extent that before I came back from the UK, I actually had to resign 24 hours notice because I couldn't function.
Okay. Because of the depression?
Because of the depression, I was on medication. Okay. So this medication, the particular medication that I was on, had 74 side effects. That was written on the box.
Wow. Okay.
So, that medication was supposed to reduce the size of a tumor in my brain. I developed a tumor in my brain.
And when was this?
That one diagnosed 2007. So, then I started taking medication 2007 until 2012.
Okay.
Until the birth of my first daughter, I stopped. I tak ambil dah ubat doktor tu. I was breastfeeding and I was more concerned about how I would be with my daughter. So like I said, I suddenly have a new sense of purpose.
Right.
I was not just listening to the doctor and just do what they asked me to do. Because masa tu, not just doctors, I had segala perubatan
segala support lah.
Segala support perubatan yang sahih tak sahih, yang bomoh tak bomoh. So because I was very quiet about my problem, everybody assume that I kena gangguan
masa tu.
So
despite you being in the UK,
despite me being in the UK, having a diagnosis that I had a brain tumor and that I was treating a tumor, I was under medication, but still because depression ni is not something orang Melayu suka cakap.
Betul.
Apa saya nak depress? Life is good. Kerja elok, family elok.
Betul.
Ada boyfriend, apa yang nak depress? Kan? So, but the depression is very deep.
It is.
It is a hole that I cannot fill. And if I look back of how I cope really, is just realizing that you have to make this end at some point. Because there are people who are depending on you. Masa tu I dah ada anak seorang. And my husband nak cerita my husband punya hebatnya orangnya. Dia tahu I sakit, tapi dia kahwin juga dengan
Masya Allah.
He married me despite masa tu we were going through not just Western medication, we were doing perubatan Islam, we were doing segala perubatan lah, Chinese ke, sensei ke, apa semua yang buat.
Semua cuba kan.
And semua perubatan yang I go through was either telling me that she is super sick, never going to get better, or her hormones are totally imbalanced, she will never get pregnant. These are all things that was told to my then tunang husband. I mesti tu kan. Dia kata, it's okay, it's not their call whether kita ada.
They're not God anyway.
They're not God.
Did the tumor come first or did the depression hit you first?
The tumor came first.
The tumor came first.
But I think it was caused by stress. The tumor is in the lower part of my brain. It's called pituitary gland.
Okay.
So it is the place where all our womanly hormones are produced. I was diagnosed with a condition called prolactinoma. Prolactinoma ni maknanya high levels of prolactin. So I was 24, tak ada boyfriend, never married. But I was lactating.
I see.
That was the first time. Tapi masa tu, kita kan tak ada Google, tak ada apa kan
Betul.
We were thinking, perempuan biasa kot ada susu.
Betul.
So I didn't check. I didn't even go to the doctor. I thought this is normal to be lactating at 24 years old.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then
Macam banyak ke or
like I can
really?
boleh simpan susu tu.
Wow.
So masa tu pergi doctor because the first symptom was that I had temporary blindness. I became blind when I'm stressed. Completely. But it's very temporary. It's like a brief moment where it's just black. And then masa tu memang panic lah. So that it was a stranger who took care of me the first time I was in the UK kan. So the stranger is currently now my best friend. But she was the one who first experienced my blindness. The solution to that at that time was either you makan ubat to kecilkan the tumor, ataupun you buang. You buang the brain organ tu.
Buang the brain organ?
The organ tu where
bukan buang tumor.
Tumor tu lah. The organ is only 5 mm size in
I
size.
see.
So to remove it, that means you remove the entire thing lah. So doctor kata it's not fatal, it's not cancer. So you go ahead and go and have your family. Because if you remove that, you won't have a family lah. So you can't have children. All your womanly functions go away lah. So dia cakap it is a slightly reduction in quality of life, but you can still have children. Very, very difficult to have children, but you can try. So I makan ubat, and the ubat was the one that caused the depression as well. On top of the existing depression, the ubat made me even more depressed. So and then they asked me to go for therapy. So I had a psychiatric treatment in the UK, but it was a waste of my money and time.
Oh, it was horrible.
It was horrible because they were digging into childhood where I felt like it ended up with me having a bad feeling about my parents, which I didn't like. Lagipun my parents are not bad people.
Yeah,
They're not anything like that. But they did their best they can to raise us the way they know best.
They know how kan?
The way they know how. I feel like orang Islam, kita punya perjuangan is to serve others.
Betul.
We can't dissociate from people. Kita nak putuskan silaturahim.
Without our family, we wouldn't be here in the first place.
We wouldn't be here. There is the hikmah or barakah in surviving, in ujian, in being sabar and things like that. So, but of course, during those days when tak ada ilmu sangat, you think, that's the way to live.
Betul.
Yeah, live your family, live your own life, do what you want.
Betul.
Do what you want, figure out what you want. So it's like, I want a lot of things, but I also want everybody around me to be happy.
Yeah.
That also makes me happy.
Yes.
Western therapy is like that. Western therapy. So when I came back to Malaysia, I got alternative treatment. The first few ones were all macam perubatan Islam, which is okay. But I think dalam perubatan Islam, the main objective is for you to feel close to God, not for people to touch you and make you feel close to God.
Yeah.
That doesn't work that way. So, but it has been a process. That's why it took me 8 years for me to learn the roots.
I can kind of resonate because on a couple of levels. Satu, I studied in the US and I prayed hard to be as far away as possible from my family. Okay. Not because they're bad people, but because I thought so during that time for many reasons. Kita rasa macam kita kan remaja,
Yeah.
hormon kan membuat-buat,
Yeah.
rasa macam nak freedom. And like what you said, because I went, walaupun a scholar pergi dengan kawan-kawan, tapi at that particular university that I was in, kita orang tak ramai.
Yeah.
And so for the first time, I felt macam ada freedom tu. Tapi the thing was, I also had an intention where I felt that orang selalu kata distance make the heart grow fonder kan. So for me, it was also because I had the perception pada waktu tu, kalau kita jauh, maka di situ I wanted to mend that relationship. Sebab kalau kita dekat, kita ni asyik nak bergaduh, bertekar, kita je yang betul. Padahal kita bukan tahu apa-apa pun. Tapi bila kita jauh ni, dekat situlah kita mend the relationship. And I think that was a lot of reflection also for me during the time. And like you said lah, mungkin kita tak pernah orang menjaga kita in that sense. Judgement kita tu tak berapa, kurang. Kita tak berapa tahu nak judge, and kita like muda lagi. And then maybe also because there's also a level of desperation, I would say. I'm not saying you are desperate, but maybe I was. So benda-benda itu juga yang berlaku. And then also because bila kita dekat US, macam contoh during my time masa tu, kita tak banyak orang-orang yang kita boleh refer kan Puan Mai. Like if you're stuck, if you want to get help, you don't really know where to go. So my first experience with a psychiatrist was also when I was in the US. That was my first experience, because I told myself juga pada waktu tu, okay, maybe I need help, let's try. Tapi I left the session feeling worse. So that made me macam, okay, if this is what a session looks like, I'm not coming back into a psychiatric session. So I think that's why bila balik Malaysia, nak jumpa psychiatrist tu became macam a difficult line in that sense. So thank you so much for sharing that. So we will come back after this. We'll take a short break and we will come back with Puan Maisarah, only in Real Conversations with Anita. So tadi we spoke a little bit about your journey with depression, and then behind the scenes kita cakap juga pasal, biasalah dalam masyarakat Melayu kita, biasanya kalau penyakit mental ni tidak dianggap penyakit di awalnya, disebabkan oleh mungkin kurang ilmu, mungkin kurang pendedahan dan sebagainya. Jadi Puan Mai, mungkin pada awal ni Puan Mai pun banyak berjumpa dengan kita panggil mungkin perawat-perawat dan sebagainya, perubatan Islam. So maybe a little bit, what were these treatments that you went through?
When I came back from the UK, I resigned 24 hours notice. I resigned. So maknanya hari ni habis kerja, besok I resign terus balik Malaysia, pack up my 7 years of life, terus balik Malaysia.
Okay.
So imagine the baggage I was carrying with me from London.
I don't know how you pack in 24 hours, but okay.
Masa tu, I didn't pack. My resignation was 24 hours, but I had 7 days to pack my things to come back.
Oh, okay. So 7 days.
7 days tu, I cut the long story short, in the name of my current husband.
Okay.
He came to help me pack and come back to Malaysia. But because I was completely unwell, I could collapse anywhere. At that point in my life, I was collapsing everywhere. I turun tangga, jatuh. I naik ni, jatuh. Semua masa tu sangat teruk. The
caused by the tumor?
The depression made me very weak.
Okay,
the medication made me very weak. Like I didn't want to meet people. The fact that I had to go and carry a luggage down the stairs pun makes me stressed, makes me depressed.
Oh, I can relate.
Because in that 7 days that I was leaving London, I was living my life. I was living everything I built in 7 years, and I knew that I might not come back. And I actually love my life in London. I love my job. I was doing very well at my job.
Yep.
I was working on the London Olympics. I was also working on the Rio Olympics together during the London times. So all these things were like, wow, hebatnya. Kan? But it didn't mean anything to me. I had a very empty, hollow feeling. So I balik tu, my parents already knew that, okay, Maisarah is not well, she's coming home.
Right.
So the first thing that happened when I arrived was there was an ustaz in my house. Daripada airport ni,
dah sampai dah.
Ustaz dah sampai dulu sebelum I sampai. Imagine that feeling that I had, that I knew I was depressed.
Yeah.
And I came home, the first support that I got was,
an ustaz.
You kena gangguan. I tak kena gangguan. Dalam hati I tahu, nobody did this to me, but it's myself.
Yeah.
Tapi I went through with the treatment because I needed an excuse for my condition.
Okay.
I nak macam someone tell me, kau ni kena buat orang.
Did they know that you were going through depression during the time?
They
Your family?
did. But I think depression was not talked about. I was in the hospital while having treatment, and then I informed my dad about it, and my dad said, don't worry, it doesn't run in our family.
Okay.
So you'll be fine. So if there's anything you need help with, just let us know. So I said, like, I kind of need help.
Like right now.
With the stuff that's in my head,
Yeah.
yang I tak boleh nak cakap at that time. Tapi to tell them my condition at that time was also to reveal my weakness, which I was going through things that I made a big mistake on. So I couldn't express myself masa tu. So I balik tu, I terima je lah perubatan yang Islam tu. I terima je ustaz tu berubat kat I. And then my dad, okay, because he's an engineer, yeah, he's very objective.
Faham?
So dia tanya ustaz ni macam, okay ustaz, from the rate of 1 to 10, how bad is it?
Faham?
So like 1 to 5, she's okay. 5 to 10, she's not okay. Ustaz kata 10. Someone wants her dead.
Lagilah dia orang macam terkejut kan.
I pun masa tu macam balik daripada my freedom, and sometimes I'm home and someone wants me dead.
So you sort of believed the ustaz during the time?
In a way that I think the ustaz had no way to express that if I don't come out of this, I could die of sadness.
Okay.
In that span of period where you don't understand apa ustaz tu tercuba sampaikan, you akan think of the worst of someone who is trying to do this to you. When sebenarnya tak ada orang buat kat you pun. Sebenarnya masalah you ni, kalau you tak selesaikan sekarang, you can be depressed to the point of probably something worse lah. It could get worse. Itu maksud dia. So we went on with that diagnosis daripada ustaz ni. He's very popular ustaz right now. I won't mention his name, but he's legit ustaz perubatan Islam lah, bukan bomoh lah.
Faham.
So dia cakap macam tu. So we lived with that for a long time.
What were your symptoms actually that were really bad?
Okay, the one yang I betul-betul melalui yang sampai I kena resign from kerja was delusion. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to go left or right. Where my documents were in the office, I couldn't tell. Padahal these are the documents that I work on every day. I know exactly where they are. I know what they do. I know my routine lah. So and then I also couldn't go home daripada office. Kalau nak balik rumah dulu, it will take me 20 minutes via train. Okay, that particular day when I couldn't function, it took me 2 hours to get home. Sebab I couldn't decide whether I should go left or right. I couldn't decide whether my house was north or south. I couldn't decide. Masa tu, it was so scary. And then you feel like, macam mana nak hidup seorang-seorang macam ni? Kalau benda-benda simple macam ni, you nak decide. Right? So I told my boss that night that I had to stop working because this is going to ruin your project. Yeah, I cannot go to the meeting and then don't have an answer for all these questions that we have on the project. So my boss came to the house. Ni Mak Saleh Mak Saleh tak datang rumah tu.
Betul.
They don't come to people's house, especially at night.
Yes.
So because I told him I have to quit, he came to the house. Pukul 9 malam lah, I tak ingat. I was in bed. I didn't want to come out. He said, I insist I want to come see you. I want to understand what's your condition. I was doing well. Apart from this 1 week episode yang delusion ni, they all like having me on the project. So they said, I'm not going to accept your resignation. I will give you a 9-month sabbatical.
Wow.
So it was first 3 months lah. Mula-mula 3 months, take 3 months off, go back home, come back. And then masa I kat Malaysia for 3 months, I didn't come out of it.
Right.
So I extend sampai 9 bulan. I told my boss, I think it's unfair for your team. You need to find someone who can actually run the project. So don't wait for me. I might not come back. They still waited. I think about another 6 months. Yeah. So they left the position open for me. That was how I love my job masa tu. Nak cakapnya,
and how much you were valued as well.
I was valued. It was there was nothing wrong with my life apart from that one problem that I cannot solve.
Yes.
That personal issue.
Is that something that you can't share with your family during the time? Ataupun did they...
Eventually I shared.
Okay.
But I was slammed. To the extent that I rasa ni I nak tak guna lah. Macam tu lah. I was slammed with it. So in a way I have lovely siblings who were very supportive. They know me lah.
Betul.
Sama ada ini berniat jahat ke berniat baik ke, adik-beradik kita je lah yang tahu kan.
Betul.
Kita tak ada pernah ada intention, tapi somehow life brought us there. Kan. So circumstances. Betul. I think the people that I disappointed most were my parents. So that killed me inside.
You know, interestingly enough, when I'm hearing your story, because I met your dad during the launch, and he is so proud of you. He said, all good things about you.
Yeah, that's why you see the level. you see, he's never really pressured his children
Betul.
to be a certain level, but we know that you don't want to disappoint him. As of semua lah anak-anak dalam dunia ni, tak ada yang tak sayang mak bapak kita kan.
Betul.
So I rasa masa tu I ni tak layak jadi anak bapak I masa tu. Teruk sangat perangai. So that's why I was disappointed with myself, and also kurang agama juga kot that time.
During the time. So after you went to the ustaz, so you sought the treatment, and then now you tell your boss, don't wait for me after 9 plus 6, so that's like 15 months. So then what treatments ataupun approaches helped your recovery sebenarnya?
Okay, miracles happened.
It does.
After, because I came back thinking that I'm doomed lah. Basically, my pituitary gland problem, my hormone problems, I will never have children. My boyfriend mungkin tak nak kahwin dengan I became semua lah. The worst that
extreme
could
lah.
happen. Extreme. I couldn't work. I balik tu, I was doing food. So, I miss my life. I miss my job. Basically, my husband, then who was a boyfriend, he said, let's get married. And then neither of us were working. I tak kerja. Dia pun, he quit his work in UK. He came back to do something else. So we were both starting a new career. For him mostly. For me, I was trying to get better. So kita kahwin. My treatment kan kat UK. So the doctor that I was seeing, he's French. French are very blunt and blatant kan. They don't really care about your feelings. Kan. You the boyfriend? Dia cakap kat my husband. You the boyfriend. She will never have children. She said that to my husband. My boyfriend masa tu. It's not his call.
Yeah.
Kan, macam siapa dia nak cakap you will never have children. So true enough, I kahwin, I bunting pelamin.
Subhanallah.
Dengan condition I yang ada high prolactinoma, my body thought I was pregnant.
Oh, I see.
High prolactinoma ni, basically you menyusu kan. So badan
tu
you
keluar
ingat,
susu.
sebab tu you keluar susu. Masa you pregnant, you tak boleh lah pregnant lagi.
Betul.
So dengan keadaan I high prolactinoma tu, I got pregnant. Yang tu memang miracle. My first daughter, I always say was a miracle baby. Every time I look at her, I'm like, who are you? How did you come?
Does the doctor know? The doctor who told you
I
come?
wish I can tell him. Actually, a lot of people have asked me to.
Despite this, you can.
Despite this, you can. It is
Betul.
research has proven. Research that one candidate has managed to get pregnant even with prolactinoma. So masa tu, okay, then I had my children, my daughter, and then 4 years later I had another child, and then 4 years later another, and one after another tu, I rasa I have to get out of this. I have to get out because when I'm with my children, I paling takut if I have blindness. I paling takut if I have delusion.
Yeah.
Delusion ni paling bahaya untuk anak-anak baby kecil kan. Kalau I tak tahu nak buat apa dengan budak tu, I tak tahu dia anak I ke tidak. Sometimes that happens masa I have delusion. Like I have once walked barefoot from my house to a mall.
Yeah.
Because I was hallucinating. So that was one situation where it's a complete deep depression for me at that time. I was being slammed. Can you imagine having children and being in that state?
In that
like,
situation kan.
Oh, I cannot. I love my children so much. And it's like, there's no way. And I love them more than I love myself. So you have to have that
Fight kan.
fight tau.
Betul.
Sebab some women, I understand, postnatal depression and things like that. You only think about yourself. When you think about all the nasty things that you want to do to yourself, you have to come to a state where you're not really living for yourself anymore. Tak ada maknanya you live for yourself lah. Your purpose is something else. So that got me to where I am today. Tapi berhenti makan ubat tu salah satu benda yang I think I salute myself for it, because that was a major decision. Because it was either I tak makan ubat and let the tumor grow, or I makan ubat, the tumor will reduce but my quality of life drops. So I decided I want to get better at quality of life. Bila dia macam tu, I rasa macam tak apa, maybe I can live with it. I don't need to do anything about it. But the relapse is real lah. Katalah depression tu is a state of mind, and I rasa it's also a chemical imbalance. So the chemical imbalance can happen anytime. Whether you eat the right food, you are around the right people, you can easily go back into depression just being around toxic environment. You can just go back. Badan you remember. Your body remembers.
Yeah.
You may have new experiences, but your body remembers.
Betul.
Oh, this is so familiar. Let's go back to depression. That always happens.
Yeah.
So, yang tu for me, I have to be in complete state of awareness.
Yes.
Macam
I can resonate as well. So how are you today?
today, like particularly today, I'm so excited to come here kan. Tapi because this is an opportunity to share, I've heard so many stories.
Yeah.
I've heard that I'm not alone. I thought pituitary gland tumor, I seorang dalam dunia ni je ada. Suddenly I met one guy who has it.
InsyaAllah.
It's a woman's problem, but a man can have it.
Betul.
And he was someone close to me too. And then his condition was worse. He had a stroke that came with it. I feel like sessions like this is important sebab some people don't even realize that they have it. So talk about it. There are alternatives. So I slowly stopped medication and went into alternative treatments such as ashwagandha, such as magnesium, things that help me sleep, things like that. So slowly I am recovering naturally, but also the high state of awareness tu sangat penting.
So you're not taking the medication for your tumor? You're also not taking medication for your depression juga?
Depression tu sekarang ni macam boleh solve dengan, I think now pun I punya relationship dengan Allah is better. I rasa dulu kan macam susah sikit lah duduk seorang kat England tu, life tu begitu. So kat sini like I said, it's a process. You don't expect to tiba-tiba besok jadi seorang yang banyak ilmu.
Betul.
I was just blessed to meet people along the way. I dissociate myself from a lot of groups that were toxic for me. So masa awal-awal dulu I have a lot of girl chat groups, girlfriends kan semua excited to complain about everything in life. So those were some of the things that reminded me of trauma. So trauma ni walaupun it's not your problem, your body remembers the sadness.
Betul.
When something happens.
Right.
The sadness is similar, is familiar. Masalah orang, kita sedih lebih.
Betul.
Kan? So, I remove myself from that environment actively since COVID. I told my friends, this is temporary. You can always find me. You know where to find me.
Yes.
For myself, I need to dissociate from toxic environment.
I think it's also interesting kan, when we hear your story, especially when you said for you, thinking about your children is what made you feel macam you need to get out of the state of mungkin deep depression during the time. And then the other thing is also how people can't imagine bila dalam deep depression tu how it is like. Sebab that's the thing kan Puan Mai, bila kita dalam deep depression, kalau tak ada orang bantu kita untuk keluar ataupun tarik kita keluar, you get deeper and deeper in it. Like what you said, tiba-tiba you're walking barefoot at the mall. Kalau tak ada orang yang bantu ataupun tiba-tiba you don't have that awareness, you can be worse off.
Betul.
And this is where it's so important for us during these difficult times is to find that support system. Sebab kita perlu sebenarnya orang-orang dekat sekeliling kita ni nampak kita tak berapa okay, let's have a conversation. Let me support you in any way I can or I know best how to kan contoh. And I think for you are blessed because you have that support in that sense. Mungkin pada waktu tu kan, maybe your boyfriend tunang husband, mungkin keluarga, mungkin ada I don't know sahabat ke dan sebagainya, tapi maybe kan Puan Mai, some of them tak ada benda tu sebenarnya. So that's the thing, kita selalu nak bantu mereka yang tak ada support tu Puan Mai. Macam mana, what would you say to them if they're going through such difficult periods kan, maybe they're struggling alone, mungkin husband tinggalkan diorang seorang-seorang dengan anak diorang, because you see, kita maklum kan, suicidal thoughts, tendencies ni sesuatu yang sangat kompleks. And so sometimes what happens is when mothers go through that, they end up they kill them, the anak and them together. Tapi even that pun is out of compassion kan, sebab dia tak nak kalau dia mati nanti siapa nak jaga anak dia pula. Bukan kita nak menghalalkan yang haram, tapi to understand kan sebenarnya how the pain is. And role kita ni sebenarnya Puan Mai sebagai ahli masyarakat, mungkin rakan-rakan yang melihat. Sebab kadang-kadang I think we can see the signs, tapi kita pilih untuk it's not me. or maybe it's orang tu, dan kita menghukum dia ni memang attitude contoh kan. Itu membuatkan orang yang mungkin that is their expression of pain, nak reach out for the help, kita nampak tapi kita buat tak tahu, we lose that opportunity to help. So kalau orang-orang yang mungkin dalam keadaan macam tu kan Puan Mai, macam mana kita ni sebagai ahli masyarakat boleh mungkin membantu lebih baik ke? What do we do?
Thanks for bringing that up, because memang ada, and actually it's within my circle juga. Because I am now currently talking a lot about mental health, my staff is now opening up to me.
Alhamdulillah.
Very good. Wallahi, 7 out of 10 orang, 7 tu memang ada mental health condition. It is not uncommon anymore. And only because dia tak tahu that they can actually talk about it.
Yep.
Okay. Tapi I always tell this to my staff. The only person who can bring you out of your misery is yourself.
Yes, betul.
Okay. You nak mengharap dekat orang untuk memberi you kasih sayang, nak memberikan you attention and everything. Betul. Yes, true. I have support system, but you cannot expect a support system to understand you 24/7.
Betul.
You tahu tak, bila you ada masalah hormone imbalance ni, which is usually the case for depression, there is no specific time. You just suddenly want to be bipolar, you be bipolar. So who can live with that? So what do you expect from the people around you? What do you expect from your support system per se? Kan? Orang ada masalah orang masing-masing. So I wouldn't say that I'm 100% dependent on my support system.
Faham.
I realized that if I don't do this myself, no one is going to help me. And people will be tired of listening because you don't want to help yourself sebenarnya. So I'm not saying that it's easy. I also took a lot of time. I put on a lot of weight during this period of depression. I was stress eating. I was 106 kgs.
Wow.
Yes, what you see right now is 3 years later of me actively trying to
shut the weight,
shut the imbalances. Benda tu sesuatu yang sangat susah tapi you kena buat.
Betul.
So katalah you tak ada support system. I mean there is MIASA, okay?
Yes.
But I wouldn't say that therapy and everything works if you don't work on yourself.
Betul. I agree.
Okay, so you macam kena ada deadline tau. You can be set but give yourself a deadline. So you must always work on the timeline.
Tapi it's helpful kan?
I think it helps because
helps.
I have something to look forward to. I keep thinking about that date when I'm going to be a new person.
Betul.
It's not there yet, but I will get there.
Betul.
So the journey matters tau. You cannot wake up and be okay the next day. It doesn't work that way. The journey matters. The choices you make every day matters. The food that you eat every day matters. The people that you talk to every day matters. And the trust you have on yourself matters. You have to trust that you ni sendiri, badan kita ni boleh come out of this on its own. Sebab not only that the body remembers trauma, the body also remembers happiness, joy. The body remembers that at one point in your life you felt happy before and you want to go back there. So trust the process bagi saya. Seek help if you can, if the help that you are getting, because not all therapy works. Bagi saya lah, I have gone through therapies, sama ada perubatan Islam ke atau marriage therapy counselor ke, psychiatric ke, semua I dah lalui. The thing that helped me the most was the ustaz that I was learning from. The ustaz usrah saya. Dia punya solution tak semuanya ikut perasaan kita. Sebenarnya kita kena go back to fitrah. Manusia ni sebenarnya Allah jadikan macam mana. And apa yang kita kena buat to release ataupun depend 100% dengan Allah. Untuk menyerahkan segala-galanya dekat Allah ni, to be at the state of redha and tawakal. So it's not something I achieve overnight. Just removing that burden of process inside you. Remove it because you don't know how you're going to come out of it. Just trust the process. Trust je.
Yeah, I think it's interesting sebab like what you said kan, sebab kita dah biasa in control. Process lah kan.
It is a process. And once you reach that state of redha tu, subhanallah nikmat. Sangat
sebenarnya. And also when you said at the end of the day, it is entirely up to us. Sebab memang betul pun Puan Mai, I think this was also my realization when I was going through my recovery journey tu pun, sebab mula-mula kita ni kan macam bila kita dalam keadaan teruk, kita ni macam baby kan. Kita tunggu orang punya instruction. Okay, hari ni bangun tak tahu nak buat apa. Okay, orang bagi tahu buat ni, buat tu. So, and then lama-lama itulah dia that learn helplessness happens. Tapi ultimately macam like what you said, when we're fully aware that, okay, takkan sampai bila-bila macam ni. Macam tu. And then when that realization hits you, then only you realize, okay, I got to do something. Sebab berapa lama orang boleh support je. So it's entirely up to us, and I really like when you remind me of that, because itulah sebenarnya yang berlaku pun dalam apa-apa jua ataupun siapa-siapa pun yang melalui proses kepada penyembuhan ni sebenarnya, Puan Mai. And also I think another good point is to trust yourself in that process. Kita ni kan biasalah minta advice, rely on our therapist ke doktor ke ustaz ke dan siapa-siapa, tapi kita lupa kita yang rasa. Kita yang lalui. Kita yang sebenarnya tahu apa yang kita perlukan. Tapi mungkin kadang-kadang kita rasa mungkin takut. Mungkin kita rasa malu kan. Sebab yelah, kita pun faham mental health condition ni dia kompleks. Dia mungkin kalau orang betul-betul dengar kebenaran, mungkin ada orang takut. Mungkin ada orang lari daripada kita ke dan sebagainya. So I can really resonate, but thank you so much for sharing that. Mungkin Puan Mai, kita nak take a break. Banyak dah kita share, and then we will come back in real conversations with Anita bersama dengan Puan Maisarah selepas ini. Puan Mai, kita dah sampai ke penghujung. Sekejap je. First time dengar cerita Puan Mai, orang kata secara terperinci sikit lah. Because I heard a little bit during the BeCalm punya launch tu. And I think that was very humanizing tau sebenarnya. Sebab especially bila kita pergi launch yang macam produk-produk, lepas tu tiba-tiba when you come in and you talk about your lived experience, then I was like, oh, this is how people feel when they hear me talking about experience. It is so powerful. Continue doing that. Okay, you must. Inshallah. Every time you talk about BeCalm, you talk about your ashwagandha cookies, whatever the benefits of the product is, talk about your experience. Sebab apa tau, kita tak tahu kisah kita ni, it can provide a key to unlock someone else's struggles. Bila kita dekat atas, orang letak kita ni so high up that pedestal that people cannot reach you. The moment you share your story, they see that you're human. Dekat situ you can connect and engage. And I think it's very powerful when people hear or see that human behind it. Sebab kita pun nak humanize mental health sebenarnya. Kalau tak, yelah, like you said tadi kan, it's actually very common. Tapi people are so afraid and ashamed to talk about it. So we want to break down all these barriers and normalize benda ni, so that people can get the help fast. And tak pergi kepada treatment yang salah-salah macam tadi cerita panjang-panjang. Terus kepada the right treatment, help and support, insyaAllah. So mungkin Puan Mai, as closing lah mungkin ya, your, I don't know, mungkin kata-kata harapan lah kepada mungkin mereka yang bergelut, tak kisahlah dengan apa-apa jua cabaran, dan terutamanya lah cabaran dengan penyakit mental ni Puan Mai.
Sebab I rasa penyakit mental yang susah orang nak cakap sekarang ni is all modern lifestyle disease.
Yes.
Sebab I call it, when I promote BeCalm, saya selalu bagi senang. This is a modern lifestyle disease. Anxiety, depression, stress, obesity. Pernah ke orang cakap pasal benda-benda ni 20 years ago? Never. So people don't even talk about obesity. Semua naik badan je.
Naik badan.
semua naik badan. Semua dah besar dah kecil tu je. Tapi sebenarnya obesity pun is also a state of mind sebenarnya. Stress eating, hormone imbalance, all causes water retention, fat retention. So benda-benda tu semua modern lifestyle disease. So understand that modern lifestyle disease bagi saya is happening. You have no control of it. It comes from lack of sleep, lack of good nutritious food, and toxic environment, your phone, everything that you watch every day, bad news, good news, contributes to your hormone balance. So everything that you do on your phone, if you spend 6 hours a day, 6 hours of toxic into your brain. So benda tu effect tau. Sebab dulu kan kalau kita stress, kita tengok kita pergi healing lah, memancing. Kita
like to nature mungkin.
Yes. But when is it that our children, even for kids watch for your children punya solution to stress. If they are stressed and they pick up their phone, that's a bit scary bagi I. Bagi I, kalau anak I stress, I take them for a walk. I take them out. Let's have coffee. Let's have an ice cream. You know, the more natural state is to talk. to talk about problems kan. Tapi zaman parents kita mungkin talking maybe was not the solution, maybe just dealing with yourself is the solution. So kita ni era mak bapak yang want us to deal with it ourselves. Okay? Ada good and bad lah. But the good thing is you become independent, you're resilient. The bad thing is you transfer that kind of resilience to your children. Okay, so my harapan, kalau back to your question, is that if you are having anxiety or stress or things that make you depressed, deeply depressed, find a solution that is not the gadget, that is not the phone, that is not Google, that is not electronic.
Move your body kan.
Move your body, free your mind from toxic environment. If you are in a WhatsApp group that frequently tells you how terrible things are every day, get out of it. Because things are not as bad as it sounds. Sebenarnya 70% or 80% of the things that happens in your head does not happen in real life.
Betul.
Dia tak terjadi sebenarnya kan. So, and try to, in order for you to block the things to go in your head, you have to block yourself from the environment itself. Okay, so bagi I, find solution, natural solution, get enough sleep. Sleep is your reset mode. Selama I depressed tu memang I tak boleh tidur, Puan Anita. So the depression, the lack of sleep also caused a lot of imbalances. For the longest time, I could not sleep with my with the light switched off. I kena tidur lampu putih. So that's how scared I was of life. That I tidur lampu terbuka, switch off, because that also affects your hormones. Lampu putih affects hormones as well. So tidur gelap. Get enough sleep, remove from toxic environment, and eat supplements that help you sleep and recover, recharge, reset every day. Every day reset. Okay, hari ni you nak feel bad, tak apa, besok reset. Okay, reboot, because it's okay to feel things. You have to feel it. You have to feel things. For a while, people will think you're weird. Sekejap okay kan? But who cares? You are the only one you need to impress every day. Hari-hari you are fixing yourself. For you, and then when you're happy, you boleh jaga orang lain.
MasyaAllah, Alhamdulillah. I like that. You are the only person you need to impress.
Yes.
Suka tu. Betul lah tu sebenarnya.
Dan Allah
MasyaAllah. And Allah, of course. We live to please Him.
We live to please Him.
Not to please people. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Puan. Puan Mai, for being here, for especially sharing your story, being vulnerable in that process of doing that. Alhamdulillah. And I am sure many that are watching, that are listening, found it helpful. Hopefully kita boleh teruskan perjuangan bersama ni, Puan Mai. InsyaAllah. Kita boleh terus berkongsi. Mungkin lebih ramai orang di luar sana bukan saja terinspirasi, tetapi ada mungkin moga-moga jalan keluar bagi mereka, sebab sudah tentu ramai yang sedang bergelut, ramai yang terbeban sebenarnya. Like what you said, modern life punya macam-macam lah isu hari ini. Like what you said, belum lagi dengan the effects of the pandemic, dengan what is currently happening with the war, with the genocide, with famine, with all these different, orang kata penyakit yang kita pun tak tahu apa ubatnya, jalan keluar dan sebagainya, tetapi sudah tentu ada. And like what you said also, kebergantungan kita kepada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. So thank you so much, Puan Mai, for being with us. We wish you all the best untuk BeCalm, for you, for your family, your children, your husband. May Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala reward all of them and your family, your parents especially. Thank you so much. So that is it, folks. Kita bersama dengan Puan Maisarah, the founder of BeCalm Malaysia. Kita tadi tak tunjuk pula cookies tu. Mungkin kita tunjuk kejap kot. You can introduce sikit, lepas tu kita close.
This is a gift for you, Puan
Oh,
Anita.
masyaAllah. Thank you so much.
Limited edition box.
Okay.
So actually the box looks different, but dalam limited edition box ni ada ketiga-tiga flavor. Sekitar 3 flavor of cookies.
Yes.
So ada chocolate chips, ada speculoos, and ada matcha warna hijau.
My son loves the matcha.
Amazing, right? Kids
amazing.
like the matcha.
Kids love the matcha for some reason. My daughter likes the purple one sebab the chocolate chips, but dia suka chocolate chips.
Yeah. So the taste as usual as a cookie biasa. It doesn't taste like a healthy cookie. Selalunya healthy cookies tak berapa
Oh
sedap.
no, ni macam beracun. Tapi
Ni macam
dia macam beracun ni sebenarnya.
Tapi dia berfungsi. So the cookies help you stay calm, and it works immediately dalam masa 15 minit. So dalam masa 15 minit tu you will feel more relaxed and you can focus. So if you're having a brain fog, satu hari bila you tengah stress, you tak boleh nak use serabut. Tu kata Astana, serabut. So this helps remove the serabut. So it's ashwagandha. So you can Google ashwagandha, the benefits of ashwagandha. And on top of ashwagandha, ada other functions also in there lah.
And the red one tu dia macam Biscoff.
Dia macam Biscoff. So we call it the speculoos. Yang tu dia macam gingerbread cookie sikit.
Betul. Dia ada macam gingerbread sikit.
Tapi budak-budak suka juga. So the cookie is suitable for kids. It's good for when they are studying, when they are too overwhelmed. Yang terlalu banyak tuition, classes, kejap kan tengok gadget dengan TikTok lah dengan apa semua tak boleh masuk kan. So tu nak remove benda-benda tu. I call this the shaitan blocker.
The shaitan blocker, Masya Allah.
I keep telling people, what does it do? It blocks the shaitan.
That's how you sell this product.
Even for me, sebab I ni senang sebab I'm an overthinker.
Sama.
Yes. I tak suka lah term tu. I just think that we just think, right?
Yeah. We're critical thinkers.
We are critical thinkers.
But we overdo it sometimes.
We overdo it. But who's to say is over or not?
Overdo. For me, overdo. So nanti I have mental noise.
So if you want to shut that noise, that bad vibrations lah bagi I.
Oh, maybe that was what, because Puan Mai asked me, because I'm eating the cookies right now. Kan tadi you asked me ada basic. Now when we're talking about mental noise, betul lah, because I actually a couple of days ago, I was telling myself, kenapa otak dah macam tak ada noise sangat? Maybe it's this.
It is this.
Masya Allah.
Satu lagi I cakap, trust the process. Because when a lot of people makan ni, tak rasa apa-apa lah.
Kan tadi, because you asked me tadi kan.
Yeah, I asked you.
Other than dia memang sedap lah cookie ni.
This is the same perasaan of any person who is independent and self-sufficient macam kita ni. Kita rasa macam, I don't need help. I can take care of myself.
No, I
macam
can't.
tu. You can.
No, I can't.
No, you can't. So accept help.
Yes,
This is help. Please
I'm
accept
very
help.
good at accepting help now.
These days. Yes.
Ready to chill.
Ready
Be
to
calm.
chill. Yes.
Thank you so much, Puan Mai.
work.
So where can people buy this?
For now, it's available online. I'm trying to put it on the shelf. So we have signed a few agreements with some stores. So hopefully in the Q4 of 2024 ni, I will try to put it in retail stores. For now, go to becalmfoods.com.
Okay.
So ataupun BeCalm punya Instagram, becalm.my. There is a link there of where you can buy.
Okay.
Shopee pun ada, Lazada
Shopee
pun
pun
ada,
ada,
semua
Lazada
pun ada. The fastest way to get it is from our Instagram and website. Of course, Shopee and Lazada. I mean,
betul.
situ
And I think just one last thing, because orang mesti nak tahu harga. So dia macam mana?
Satu, kita tak
One
jual
piece
in piece, sebab online susah nak jual in piece, takut sampai kat you patah. So I sell dalam kotak. Satu kotak ada 10, RM85.
Betul.
RM85, so jatuh satu piece tu RM8.50. So it's a functional cookie. For a functional snack, it's cheap. Sebab whatever you see on the store, if it's functional, it's RM12 and above. So we try to make it as affordable as possible. So you can't really compare it with cookie yang tak ada fungsi. Tapi taste wise, like I said, dia sedap. You bangsa tak tersiksa lah untuk makan. I tak nak you stress sebab
betul dah besar, lepas tu tersiksa pula nak makan.
Kita nak hilangkan stress, nak makan pun stress, tak boleh lah macam tu.
Okay, alright, awesome. So kita ada 3 types tadi. Me personally, I like the purple one sebab dia ada chocolate chips in it. Because I love chocolate chips, so mungkin sebab tu. Tapi the Biscoff one is actually pretty good as well, and my son loves the matcha one. My daughter likes the purple one, so
it's good for any age, 4 and above.
And also I think what is really important, I am a person who dulu when I was first struggling, I took ashwagandha for 4.5 years, and ashwagandha was really helpful when I was going through the toughest of my period and challenges. So now it's in a cookie. I wish it was in a cookie form during the time, lagi lah senang nak telan, tapi alhamdulillah. So thank you so much, Puan Mai.
I cerita sikit kenapa it's good to put in a cookie instead of pills. Sebab pills ni you have to eat with the right food. So for it to work,
yes,
you kena makan.
Kena makan memang. I have to eat first, then only take the
Yes.
pills.
Tapi
Betul.
bila kita stres, kita peduli apa nak makan ke tidak kan?
Betul.
Kita
Betul
nak
lah.
makan ubat je. So
Betul.
what we do with BeCalm is we make sure that
Boleh makan
food,
bila-bila
the food is already with the function.
Yes,
So
betul.
tak payah fikir nak makan apa.
Alhamdulillah. Alright. Awesome. So detach, rest and release.
Yes, that's our tagline.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, boleh. Alright. Thank you so much, Puan Maisarah, once again, and thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget to catch our podcast, Real Conversations with Anita, via YouTube and also Spotify every Friday at every Wednesday at 6 p.m. inshallah. So that's it, folks. Please take care of each other. Signing off. I end this with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Join us for Real Conversations with Anita, where mental health matters, brought to you by MIASA Malaysia.